So I shot the original take of this video, a 30-minute take that I had now just realized I had the wrong mics on. That I remember playing growing up, and I had no idea what I was doing. Had never played turn-based combat. I believe I... Yeah. So I originally had this whole bit, but since I'm reshooting this in its entirety, we're just going to skip it. I have a haul for you today. A lot of stuff I've accrued over the last month. A lot of it namely around the space that I'm in right now, which you can still see is coming together. All of that right there, that's still being processed, I'd like to say. Moving to a new apartment, new studio, home office in its entirety. This bottom floor is entirely dedicated to this space. So it's slowly coming together. I've been dealing with a lot of that. There's a vlog that I shot that's all the behind the scenes footage of that process, at least the initial move-in, that I've yet to upload. This video is probably going to get edited and uploaded before that vlog does. But trust me, it's coming. If you want to get a sneak peek until then, you can check out my Digital Dojo's channel, where I give a little bit of a sneak peek of the new studio and tour it as it was a little bit when I moved in. But with that, I want to go over and look at a lot of stuff that I've picked up in the last month, from retro video games to smart home products to all sorts of stuff. And whoa, now the camera's going all ghosty there. Okay, back in business. So let's go ahead and just start off with some of the modern tech so we can go through this first and foremost. My most recent pickup is that of this right here, the iPhone 15 Pro Max. So this is it in the all-natural titanium. As you can see here, it has that brush titanium look with the new action button, the improved cameras, faster internals. I'm a big fan of the colorway, I will say. I like this all-natural. I like the titanium brush look, feel. It's substantially lighter than the previous phone. It feels lighter in the hand, feels better in the hand with these kind of edges that are rounded. So I like the overall physical build of it. I've only had the phone for the last couple of days, so I'm not going to give you my review of it. That's going to be coming out on the Digital Dojo channel. I did do my first impressions of it after the first 48 hours, so again, check that out. But yeah, picked one of these up. As you know, being in the content creation space, being in the tech space specifically, I do upgrade year after year. So have the benefit of doing that, checking out the latest and greatest, and here's Apple's latest and greatest, the Apple iPhone 15 Pro Max. So yeah, that's that's all I have to say about this right now. It's the latest phone, the latest flagship, the biggest model that Apple has to offer, and it's my new daily driver. So there you have it. Stay tuned for more content around that. Moving in the complete opposite direction, let's talk retro games a little bit here, because I have a stack sitting next to me that I featured earlier, and here we have them. We have a couple of games across the way. I will start with the N64 titles, and then we'll kind of work our way from there. So we have 3 titles in particular. We have Mortal Kombat Trilogy, WCW versus NWO, so it's a wrestling game, and then Quest 64. This I had never played on the N64, just pick it up because I am going for that complete collection, though I was a huge fan of wrestling growing up, so nice to have that for the collection. But yeah, N64, it's the one collection as a video game collector that I'm going for complete. It's the first collection that I'm going for complete, because it's the one that is most nostalgic to me, N64 growing up. These two, however, have a special place for me. Mortal Kombat Trilogy was the first, I remember, like vividly rated M game that I got my parents to get me. Me and my sister played this all the time, trying to learn the combos and fatalities. Quest 64, maybe begrudgingly, is one of the first RPGs I remember playing for the N64. Shout out to Demi Games, one of the local sellers here in the Bay Area. Picked this one up at a video game swap alongside Mortal Kombat Trilogy, and then this one I picked up at the actual store that hosts the game swap, which is called Retrofix in Campbell. Quest 64, like I said, this was a RPG that I hated growing up because like I didn't know how to play turn-based combat, and the game just made no sense to me. It was like something that it was so frustrating, and I wanted to understand how to play it, like one of those things as a gamer. Maybe like the equivalent of like modern day Souls, like, but for me, that's what this felt like when I was a kid, because I just did not know what I was doing. But yeah, Quest 64, because it was an actual like N64 title, obviously, like you remember a lot of the games back then had title plus 64. So yeah, Quest 64. I believe this game is highly, or not highly, sorry, the opposite of that. Reviewed in a negative light, one of like the worst reviewed games for the N64, if I'm not mistaken. but had to get it for nostalgia's sake and just for the sheer fact that we are going for that complete collection. So those are the N64 games I've picked up as of late. You'll see here in a bit, I've ramped up my N64 collecting again. As you do with collecting, you have phases. You kind of go from like this moment of like wanting to really collect one specific thing to not collecting that thing, and then ups and downs, and you get distracted. And recently, N64 I've been getting back into. But in another Nintendo realm, I also have these GameCube games I picked up. Namely, these three I picked up from the store on one day, and then the other one I picked up later from the same store from the Game Swap. Luigi's Mansion. This is one of the GameCube titles I've always wanted. One of my GameCube grails I always wanted in the collection. Paid $60 for this thing. I did think I got it on sale because there was a Labor Day sale, so it was probably like $50. Nonetheless, still expensive for a classic title. Nonetheless, as a collector, it is nice to have the OG, and this is, for the most part, CIB, complete in box. So you got the manual, you got the disc, so at least I have that for collector's sake. Harry Potter Quidditch World Cup. I remember playing this specifically on the PS2, but now I have it for the GameCube. And then the official X-Men game, another game that I had on the PlayStation 2, but fun to have it now for the GameCube collection. So $50 for this, $10 for this, $12 for this, but I did get this on a Labor Day sale. It was like an exclusive sale. If you followed them on Instagram, you got I think it was 20% off or something like that. But speaking of GameCube titles, another title that I did pick up was Eternal Darkness. This is another GameCube grail, and thankfully, at least as of right now, there is not a remaster of this on the Switch. This is a trippy game. I've heard a lot about this. I've seen a lot about this. It's a game that I've always wanted to play thoroughly through. I know, if you know type of thing about this game and what it has behind it and the tricks up its sleeves. But yeah, this is Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem. So this is a game that I remember when I first got into video game collecting a couple years back. This thing was in certain cases you can still find it for crazy prices. I remember seeing this sealed for couple $100. So definitely one of those coveted games with GameCube, but has come down decently in price. But this one was $80 at a video game swap. This one is with manual and booklet and all that good stuff in decent condition on the disc here. But the case is a little worn on the front here. But I got this for a decent deal as well because I bought this with a bundle of stuff from another reseller here known as Hyphy Gold, I believe. And not only is he a video game reseller, but a fellow YouTuber. So I follow him online, and it was cool to meet a fellow content creator at one of these game swaps. So shout out to him because he did give me a deal on the bundle of stuff that I bought from him, which included these GameCube games, Mortal Kombat, and some other stuff, which I'm going to showcase here in a moment. Actually, looking around for it, I realized it's not even here right now. Here it is, the NES Classic Edition. So this is the Nintendo Entertainment System Classic. So this is the mini console. And completing my Nintendo mini console collection, if you don't know what these are essentially just miniature versions of, you guessed it, classic consoles like the NES, SNES, Famicom, and Super Famicom that they brought back with HDMI outputs, this kind of miniature version. And essentially they're running the equivalent of Raspberry Pis almost in here, and they're, for all intents and purposes, they're I don't know if it's fair to call them official emulators. I'm sure that's not the politically or technically political correct term, but they're essentially just emulations of the classic consoles. They bundle a lot of the classic titles for those consoles on these little miniature versions, and they bring it back to life, and you can use it on an HD TV. So definitely on that nostalgia wave, and this is something that was officially licensed by Nintendo. So again, this is the NES Classic, and it joins my collection of other mini consoles. I think all I need left are the Sega line of mini consoles I need to add on there. But yeah, that concludes my initial kind of retro game pickups. I want to move into some kind of smart home tech and some other stuff I've picked up as of recent too. I got a lot of sensors and hubs and smart home products recently, and that kind of falls in line with I was talking about earlier. Having moved into this apartment, I've been doing a lot of the smart homeification of the space and have a lot of videos around that. But some of the products I've been testing out and picking up here, a lot of Aqara products, which you'll see here. a couple of their sensors, and this SwitchBot hub that I got as well, which I'll talk about that in a second, has a piece of hair stuck to the tape there. But let's talk about these Aqara sensors first and foremost. This is the Aqara water sensor. As the name implies, this is meant for water leaks. So this was actually something I got out of necessity, because when we first moved into this apartment, one of the things that we first noticed in our initial week of living here, we were testing everything out, and this is an apartment that is owned. So essentially I deal with a landlord versus property management. And just kind of figuring out all the nooks and crannies and the faults of the place, so to speak. And one of the things when we first moved in was, unfortunately, there was a leak in one of the sinks. Thankfully, resolved it very quickly, repaired it, all that good stuff. But it got me thinking, just to be safe, I wanted to get these water leak sensors. And essentially, they do just that. If there's a leak under a sink, it'll alert you. You can get really fancy with this. Obviously, for right now, I just have it alert me via a phone push notification. It can trigger an alarm. You can get even fancier where you can hook this up to a water valve or some system if you own a home that can shut off your water valve when it detects a leak. So again, the potential behind these are really cool. For me, I'm just using them for just general understanding of things are leaking. I want to make sure I know to prevent further damage or be alerted of it. Aqara's mini wireless switch. This is just essentially a smart button that you can program to do a lot of different things, and again ties into the Aqara ecosystem. I have mine set up as a doorbell. I bought 2 of these to replace the current doorbells that we have, and they work fantastic, and they tie into the 2 hubs that I have throughout the apartment. Since this is a 3-story apartment, I wanted something that could tie into my smart home ecosystem, and I can hear the doorbell no matter which floor I'm on and which door it's at. I can easily distinctly tell based on the ringtone that I assigned for each floor. Next up are the Aqara windows and door sensors, and this is one of 4 that I bought. So this is the newest generation of the Aqara sensors. This is the P2 specifically. This one has Matter support. If you're in the smart home ecosystem, you know what that is. I know this isn't the tech channel for Digital Dojo, so I don't want to get too into it, but essentially this is more future-proof as far as sensors go, but it is a door and window sensor, or a contact sensor, as a lot of people like to call it. Essentially, it has one piece that's a magnet, and it tells you if a door or window is open or closed. Now, at a very basic level, that's great because you can get notified if you left the front door open, if you left the patio window open, so on and so forth. But you can then tie it further into automation. So for example, when I open this office door, I can have it trigger the lights as soon as I walk in, and all sorts of other fun automations that you can tie behind that on top of security. So this is the new Aqara P2 sensor. Their original windows and door sensors, fantastic and even cheaper. This is just more so meant and built around Matter, which will then allow you to kind of more future-proof your smart home. But yeah, reviews on those coming up in the future on the Digital Dojo channel. And then I have the SwitchBot Hub 2. This is the newest version of the SwitchBot Hub that also has Thread support, if I'm not mistaken, and ties into the SwitchBot ecosystem of products. Hubs are a fun thing in themselves because a lot of the smart home tech is moving towards hopefully unifying those hubs down the road with things like Matter and Thread. But right now, if you want to tie your SwitchBot products to things like voice assistants, then you're going to need something like the SwitchBot Hub 2, which doubles as a couple things. This acts as I believe a thermostat. It has a smart IR remote repeater built in, so it can capture signals from your TV remote and tie those into automations. It has physical buttons or touchscreen buttons that you can use to trigger automations. And then, like I said, it ties in your smart home products and acts as a hub for you to control the SwitchBot ecosystem of products, which I've also been experimenting with. Case in point, the SwitchBot Curtain Hub. Curtain. This is the SwitchBot Curtain Rod 3 version, the latest version of their SwitchBot Curtain motor. This allows you to essentially have smart curtains. So if you've ever seen things where the curtains open and close by themselves, this allows you to do that at, I would argue, a much more affordable rate than getting those custom blind fittings. This can retrofit just standard curtains on a standard rod. They do come at $80 a pop, which sounds a bit expensive, and it is up there. But if you've seen those custom solutions, you know that those can easily go up into the hundreds, if not thousands. These SwitchBot curtains, really cool. They're these motors that you hook onto the rods, super, super easy to install. And then they essentially can be tied into automations. You can have it scheduled to open up slowly and gradually as you wake up to allow the sunlight in. You can set up all sorts of other fancy automations depending on how technical you want to go. So right now I have something with my home assistant built where when I open my office door, depending on the time and conditions of the weather and the time of day, my office curtains will open here. So again, you can get really, really technical with it, but at a base level, again, these just allow you to automate your curtains open and closing. So I did buy 2 of these, so this is just one box because you need one for each curtain, ideally. Keeping on that smart home trend, this is the Level Lock Plus. Like I said, I'm in a new apartment, a lot more space to work with, and one of the things I had asked when I was moving in with my landlord was, do I have the ability to kind of swap out a lot of the locks and kind of go with smart locks? And I wanted to test out a couple of different solutions out there. Heard a lot about the Level Lock for its simplicity, its integration with Apple's HomeKit. I have mixed opinions on this lock specifically, which I'll hold all those opinions for my review. But in short, if you're going to get this lock or you're considering this lock, I recommend just the Level Lock, where it's like the invisible lock, where you can kind of just put it. It works with multiple deadbolts and whatnot. The Level Lock Plus, which is more expensive, I think I paid like $300+ for this at Best Buy, includes not just that automated lock functionality, but it includes this specific keyhole, whatever you want to call it. This has like NFC technology built in. It has Apple Home Key built in. You can use this to touch and lock your lock or unlock it. You can do all sorts of smart home features, and it's great. But the software, in my opinion, has a lot of bugs. There's some security implications around it. I know the lock-picking lawyer kind of destroyed this lock in terms of getting access to it. So keep that in mind. But I think if you are just, again, getting the standard level lock, the invisible lock where you can't even tell from the outside looking in, super convenient. And if it works well in terms of the reliability of it and the software, then it is a decent lock to potentially invest in if you're already in that Apple HomeKit system. Moving on to the lock that I have been having much more success with, and again, going back to that ecosystem here we have the Aqara U100 smart lock. So this is a smart lock that is also heavily revered for its Apple HomeKit support, but this runs at $180. So a fraction compared to the Level Lock Plus. But this does require a little bit more install. So you have the keypad, you have the, of course, door locking mechanism. So you got to make sure it's compatible with your specific setup, of course. But if you can get something like this, ton of great features. Has a keypad, has a fingerprint sensor. It can be tied into your Aqara home and ecosystem, like I talked about earlier. You can do all sorts of automations with this. You can have different things react depending on who's unlocking the door. Lots of cool stuff. If you have like guests or different vendors, let's say the cleaners coming to an office or your home or whatever it may be, you can give them temporary access. People who may be babysitting or pets, things like that. All of that can be achieved with something like this. Similar feature set to the Level Lock, but I just think better execution when it comes to the overall package here. So yeah, this is the Aqara U100 Smart Lock. And then lastly, on the smart home side, I've gotten a lot of Philips Hue light bulbs lately. This is like 2 of the 8 boxes I have piled up over there. The one thing I did when I first got into this new apartment is I really wanted to address smart lighting. I think smart lighting is like the easiest jumping point. It's like the dipping in the toe, the dipping of the toe in the water of smart home ecosystems. I think it's just something that a lot of people can get behind and understand, like what I call the convenience to practicality meter when it comes to smart homes. And for, I know the expense that Philips Hue is, they are one of the leaders in this system specifically, and they have a lot of support for different lighting needs. So I picked up a couple of these 60 watt, 800 lumen white bulbs. These are like the cheap bulbs that they offer, or the cheaper bulbs, because these just do one basic color, and that is just white light. In terms of the Kelvin scale, you can't go to like a bright yellow or soft white, like you can't adjust it. However, with something like these, which are called the white ambiance bulbs, you can do just that. And then you have the standard color bulbs, of course, just like the light strip behind me, where you can do multiple colors across the RGB spectrum. White ambiance, these are the BR30 style type of bulbs. These are like bigger down lighting. So for example, I right now in my office here have canned lighting and these are what work best for that. So I picked up a lot of these to replace all of the bulbs in this office, which I think there's like 9 bulbs. So these at the White Ambiance, they run for like $36 for 2. So not a bad investment overall in terms of just getting all these bulbs smart and easily controllable and not have to really worry about tinkering with light switches, as first world as that sounds. Okay, I realized I said that was the last smart home product, but technically I lied. I have this right here, which is a little bit hard to fit into the frame, all pun intended. This is IKEA's Symphonics picture frame collab with IKEA and Sonos. So it is a picture frame that you can hang on your wall, so you can mount this on the wall or whatnot, but this is just a mesh covering, and this is an actual smart speaker behind this grill, of which you can actually change. So you can change this to different artworks that IKEA collaborates with. You can get this in a white or black, but this is just a standard picture frame that you can mount on the wall. But like I said, there is a full-on speaker built into here that is a collab with Sonos. So if you're a fan of Sonos products and their whole multi-room audio ecosystem, that ties into it, and it has all the functionality and features that a Sonos speaker has. You can use it in a stereo pair with 2 of them. You can literally have these be your rear speakers in your surround setup, but the idea is kind of this technology meets design cross-function, so you can integrate it into your home seamlessly and freak people out when it starts playing music out of it as a speaker. And in terms of actual sound quality, for the last week that I've had it, or 2 weeks that I've had it, pretty damn decent sound quality, I will say. I will get a full review out there, but I know this product has been out for a while. I just finally got my hands on it. IKEA opened up here locally within San Francisco, so I finally just decided to pull the trigger when I went to visit. And yeah, it is a really, really good speaker. Like it's up there with the Sonos One type of sound profile that you're gonna get. It has really decent bass for the kind of form factor it has, and you'd be surprised at the kind of sound quality you get. It's essentially a giant speaker in a picture frame form factor, so kind of the best of both worlds. So yeah, that is the IKEA Symphonics picture frame speaker. Going back to the overhead shot, and I actually don't necessarily think this is going to fit, but back into the retro game world, this is not going to fit, so let's go back here. This right here, I was super happy to pick this up at that retro game swap that I was talking about earlier, the most recent one I went to. Nintendo 64 cartridge case. This is a 12-slot cartridge case. I don't know if this is definitely like a vintage case from back then, but I don't necessarily know if this is like officially a Nintendo license or it may just be a third-party case. But this thing, as you can see, you already have games in here, houses, I believe, up to 12 games, or this one might even be the bigger one. I guess I've never actually counted. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Now, this is definitely like 24 slot cartridge because there's like 12 on each side. And you can see here they fit nice and neat. And this really cool form factor, and it's like a little platform, so you can just like sit in an actual N64 on top of this. When I saw this at the game swap, I knew I had to have it. And before I even saw the price tag, I was like, whatever it is, I'm definitely going to try to negotiate for it. And the reseller and vendor definitely gave me a good deal. So it was marked at $70. I think I got it for like $10 off on top of other stuff I bought from him. So can't complain overall. Like, it was a cool, solid find. And for somebody who's building up that N64 collection, it was perfect to kind of tie everything in. And speaking of N64, I filmed this official quote-unquote unboxing earlier, so you don't get the satisfaction of the unwrapping experience. I guess I can cut to some of that footage since I saved it. But this is an N64 that I picked up during that same game swap. This one was actually not from the actual game swap. The store that hosts these game swaps is called the Retrofix. They have vendors come in and they can, sell and buy used trade sort of deal. Retrofix in itself is a store within Campbell, which I'd highly recommend you check out. One of the top and one of my favorite retro game stores here in the Bay Area. But they had this in their own inventory in stock. I saw it in the corner when I was checking out, decided to pick it up because I'm in this mood lately with N64. If I see it and I don't have it in the collection, I'm basically just trying to, to pick it up when I see it in the wild. I've passed on a lot of fantastic 64s in the past, and I've regretted it every time. So pick this up, but obviously for those of you who know, this is not, I repeat, a fantastic 64. This is like a dark blue N64 case that mirrors that of like a transparent fantastic look, but this is 100% third party. Looks super clean though, and you can see this is in immaculate shape, but you can tell by there's no markings, no stickers, no nothing on the bottom here. This is just a third party case, which I'll be honest, I did not even know they made full on third party cases like these. I've seen mods, I've seen stuff like that, but every time I've looked, it's been hard to find these kind of third party shells. And I know there's like 3D printed accessories and all this other stuff, but the actual shells I haven't really seen. So yeah, got this. To my surprise, I realized very quickly this is not a fantastic colorway, of which I've been trying to collect. Right now I only have the ice blue and the original N64 model in itself. But I guess nonetheless I have this third party colorway, which I do like the color. Like I will say this dark blue color I'm a huge fan of, almost like a royal blue, and it's in super solid condition. There's a little bit of scuff on the reset button, but outside of that everything else is fine. Unfortunately no expansion pack in this one. I did pay for this up about $200, I will say, so right up there with like what you would pay for a fantastic N64, despite it not being one. But you live and you learn. And I learned from my mistakes and just rushing to buy the first thing that I saw that looked shiny and nostalgic. But nonetheless, I'll be adding this to the collection and joining the other two N64s, and keeping my eye out for actual fantastic 64s in the future. But that, ladies and gentlemen, wraps up the haul that I have here and the stuff I've been accruing over the last couple weeks and month since I've moved in here. Yeah, this time I got the audio right, and we're also just wrapping up the video here, the damn near 30-minute mark, so just equally as much as it was when I shot it the first time, so hopefully nothing goes wrong this time. But with that, hope you all enjoyed. If you want to get the more in-depth look at some of these products, or you want the reviews of some of the technical stuff, be sure to check out my Digital Dojo channel. That's what that's for. This is more for a behind-the-scenes look at some of the stuff I've been picking up, some of the stuff I've been sitting on, just for those of you who care about these sort of things. But stay tuned, a lot more content to come, a lot of stuff centered around the new office and home studio setup, so be sure to check that out. And as always, I'll catch you all in the next one.